Welcome, everyone. I am so thrilled you're joining me today. Today's explainer is an absolute game changer if you've ever stared blankly at a writing prompt. We're going to generate step-by-step the ultimate blueprint for academic essay success, diving specifically into writing skills assessment procedures and the rubric's criteria, which are based on IELTS writing skills for academic purposes. If you've ever felt like essay grading is just totally subjective, well, get ready, because we are turning the examiner's rubric into your personal, foolproof blueprint for success.
Here is the masterclass outline we are going through today. First, the examiner's criteria. Second, the 4-paragraph formula. Third, crafting the introduction. Fourth, building body paragraphs. And fifth, grammar and conclusion.
Okay, let's jump right into section 1. The examiner's criteria. What are they actually looking for?
So, the first major hurdle you'll face is called task response. Now, what does that actually mean? It's simply the assessment of whether you have answered every single part of the prompt. You know, good writers actually lose marks here all the time simply because they rush and miss a little nuance in the question. For instance, if a prompt asks you to discuss the attitudes of trying new things versus familiar things, and also asks for your opinion, you literally have to do all three. You absolutely must discuss both sides and clearly give your own stance. Reading the task slowly, that is your critical first step.
Next up, we have coherence and cohesion. I know, right? These words sound incredibly intimidating, but honestly, they don't need to be. They simply mean your essay needs a clear, logical structure. The examiner's basically just asking, is your essay logically organized? Do your ideas flow smoothly from one point to the next? Or do they kind of jump around unpredictably?
And this perfectly illustrates the essential brainstorming phase that directly satisfies that need for logical organization. Look, before you write a single paragraph, you need a plan. You've got to map out simple, ordinary ideas. Here, we're looking at a breakdown of trying new things versus familiar things. Notice how incredibly basic these ideas are? New things are exciting, but risky. Familiar things are safe, but routine. Choosing these simple ideas is actually a massive strategic advantage because it keeps your essay tightly focused and, let's be real, way easier to write.
Moving right along to section 2, the 4-paragraph formula, structuring for success.
Listen, here's the golden rule for this format. You do not need to be originally creative with your layout. In fact, you really shouldn't be. Learn this precise 4-paragraph structure once and literally reuse it every single time. Step 1, your introduction. Step 2, body paragraph 1, which tackles the first view. Step 3, body paragraph 2, tackling the second view. And step 4, your conclusion. It is that predictable. And honestly, examiners absolutely love it because it's just so easy to follow.
Which brings us to section 3. Crafting the introduction, starting strong.
Okay, your introduction has two very basic jobs, and you really shouldn't spend too much time agonizing over it. First, paraphrase the task. Just say what the essay is about, but in your own words, maybe by just changing the word form slightly. Second, and this is massive, clearly declare your stance right away. Once you've knocked out those two things, keep it short and move on to the body paragraphs, because that's where the real points are won.
So the crucial takeaway here is this. Forget any old-school advice you might have heard about saving your opinion for some big, dramatic reveal at the very end. We're talking about a short 4-paragraph essay here. Tell the examiner straight away what you think. If you think a mix of both views is best, say so right in sentence 2. Doing this instantly secures your task response score because the examiner immediately knows you've answered the whole prompt right out of the gate.
All right, section 4, building body paragraphs, developing ideas.
Every strong body paragraph follows this exact internal pattern. First, you start with a topic sentence that clearly tells the reader what the paragraph is all about. Then, you provide an explanation to really develop that idea. Follow that up with a specific example, like a particular type of food or maybe a travel destination if that fits your prompt. Finally, introduce a downside using a linking word. By sticking to this pattern, every single idea gets fully developed, rather than just being dropped and abandoned halfway through.
Words like however, moreover, on the other hand, and although, these are your absolute best friends. Using these linking words is exactly how you signal a turn to a downside, or a switch to the opposing view. When an examiner sees on the other hand, they instantly know you are shifting gears, and that directly satisfies those cohesion criteria we talked about earlier. It proves to them that you are in total control of the essay's flow.
And finally, section 5, grammar and conclusion, the final polish.
You know, when people want a really high score, they often reach for these huge vocabulary words and overly complicated sentences. But let me tell you, this backfires almost every time. Examiners literally count your error-free sentences to determine your grammar score. So attempting a highly complex passive sentence that might result in a mistake, that is way riskier than writing a simple, highly accurate active sentence. You definitely need a balance of complexity and accuracy, but always aim for accuracy first. Correct, simple grammar scores much higher than complex, broken grammar every single time.
Now, word count is something a lot of writers stress about, but here is the absolute magic trick. By following this balanced, developed structure, an intro, 2 patterned body paragraphs, and a conclusion, you are going to naturally hit the perfect length. For these types of academic essays, the sweet spot is right around 270 to 300 words. Seriously, if you trust the structure, the word count pretty much takes care of itself.
Okay, now for the final step. Your conclusion should be incredibly swift. Just do these 3 things. Summarize the 2 sides briefly, restate your opinion using fresh vocabulary so you aren't just copy-pasting your intro, and ideally, drop in a natural, fitting idiom to show off your vocabulary skills. Something like, it represents the best of both worlds. Boom, you are completely done.
I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. If you structured your very next practice essay using this exact rubric-driven blueprint, how many structural and cohesion errors would you instantly eliminate? Think about it. By leaning on clear structures rather than just sitting there hoping inspiration strikes, you transform writing from a frustrating guessing game into a reliable, repeatable science. Try mapping out your next prompt using this exact 4-paragraph flow, and just watch your clarity, and for sure, your confidence skyrocket. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today, and hey, happy writing!